get us some ashes to do some brain tanning with. So I've got some ashes out of my wood stove, and I've got just an old piece of screen here and a cardboard box. You could use a bucket or whatever you had. It's fine. And so we're going to get our screen set up here, and then I've got my bucket of ashes out of the wood stove. I'm just going to dump some on the screen. And basically just wash it around. So we're getting the fines. That's what I want to use for my brain tanning. It's not these big clumps of stuff. That's not going to do us any good. That's not going to dissolve in the water. Because what we want is to dissolve our ashes in the water. So we'll just move this around. And it don't take a huge amount of ashes. I'm going to say at least a quart or 2 quarts per 5 gallons of water. Something like that. A little more, a little less. Probably not going to hurt you either way. And I'm going to show you what we get. See, we got all this big stuff still on here. When we get that out of the way, we've got some fines. So right now we have the fine material out of those ashes, and that will dissolve in water. And I'm going to put that in my 5-gallon bucket. And like I say, this is probably 2 quarts at least, half a gallon, maybe more than that. Like I said, it doesn't take a whole lot of ashes to get you what you need. And so I have a bucket here. We'll do this on the ground. That's what I'm using. Alright. And I've actually done that twice in this bucket, so this is twice as much ashes as you saw me just do. So we've got almost half a bucket of ashes. That's too much for what we're doing, but I've got 2 deer hides, so we're going to split this between our buckets, and it'll be just right. Start with a clean bucket, and this is our excuse me, a bucket with our ashes in it. We're going to do 2 hides today, so try to get them about even. There's our ashes, hardwood ashes now. We're going to use hardwood ashes, not fine. And we're going to fill these buckets about half full of water, and then we're going to mix them up and make those ashes dissolve best we can. And then we'll place our deer hides in there. If you don't mix it up, it's just going to clump up on you, so you got to mix it. But since we've got it fine, we've used those fines, it'll go ahead and mix into solution. Alright, now what we have here is a fleshed deer hide. Fleshed means that we've taken all the meat off of it. I didn't tape that part of it, but there's plenty of videos out there to show you how to flesh this. Basically, you lay this over a PVC pipe and you push it off with a piece of metal. It could be a lawnmower blade. It could be what I used was a 1095 piece of knife steel. It didn't have an edge on it. It was just a piece of metal. It had corners on it. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't rounded corners, but it didn't have like a knife edge on it. So I've pushed off all the meat on this. Like I say, plenty of videos showing you how to flesh. And that's the messiest part. And then we're going to put this down in here, and we're going to move this around a little bit. Make sure we get these ashes up in our water. They'll settle out on you, so we're going to mix them a little bit more. And we want them all over that hide. We want to work that hide around, pick it up a couple times. Make sure it's getting all over it, over the ashes. And what the ashes will do is make the hair slip. We got a little more hide to do. And this hide has got several holes in it. This is what not to do with your hide. Cut holes all in it. So this one I did not skin. I didn't skin either one of these really. But somebody got a big lick out of that one. But we can sew that back up. It's a salvageable thing. It's not a big thing. There's one here too. I leave the tails on them. Sometimes I'll take them off, sometimes I won't. But basically, I want all the leather I can get out of it. And I'm going to put this one down in here. It's a little bit bigger hide, a bit bigger deer. I'm going to stir this ashes up again. Work this one too. And I flesh these, and I let them sit in clean water the way I flesh. I'll describe it, I guess. The way I flesh a hide is I let it sit in clean water overnight. I'll let it sit in clean water overnight, and then the next day I'll go out and flesh it. That seems to make the meat turn loose a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier. Nothing's easy about it, but it does make it a little bit easier. And then to get this ash solution here to soak up, your hide's wet at that point. So what I did is I let these dry out overnight, and just hung them on a sawhorse is what I did with them. However you wanted to let them dry out. They're not dry by any means, but they're drier than when I fleshed them. You could probably get by with doing this right after fleshing. Wouldn't hurt anything, but my theory was if it's dry a little bit, it'll soak up this ash solution a little faster, and the hair will slip a little faster. So that's what we're looking for, is the hair to slip. And what I mean by hair slipping is when you pick this up and you get a hold of the hair, it'll come right out. That's coming out some, but that's right on the edge. Like here in the middle, it doesn't come right out as good. So we want that hair to slip. It'll take it a day or two, depending on the weather, how much it'll take to do that. Now you want these to stay submerged, so what I usually do is I'll lay a brick or a cinder block on top of these in the water, and that keeps them submerged under the water. And I've got a dog. If you got dogs, set these up somewhere high. I've got a place here that I can set them. Here's one I did 2 days ago, and it's had a cinder block sitting on it. And every day I'll come out and I'll turn these things over, and we'll start to see if that hair will pull off. And that hair's starting to slip. Not good yet. We want it just to fall out. We don't want to have to tug on it. Like that little bit fell right out. And what you're looking for is that hide to be able to take the hair off. So what I'm going to do is pick this up. I'm going to stir my ashes again. There's a brick in there too. Stir my ashes again. Get them all stirred up. And we'll work this thing a little bit. Get it all over it. And this bucket's actually been sitting in the sun. It's warm, man. Them other ones was cold. But I've got 4 hides total. You want to do these in pairs if at all possible, because when you go to smoke them, you want two hides to put together to make a tube for your smoke to go up. And so if you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, you know, even numbers, that's best. You can get by with an oddball one, but it's best if you're going to try this, do 2 at a time. And I set them up on this little shelf I built against my barn. That keeps my dog off of them. And I put a cinder block on the top. But you definitely want these to stay under the water. And you want to stir these every day or so. Get this to where that hair will slip. It may take you 2 or 3, 4 or 5 days. Get that hair to pop off good. Depends on the weather. It's cold right now here. Halifax. There's our 4 deer hides. We'll bring you back when we start taking the hair off. Alright, today we're going to do some brain tanning. We'll do one process of it. We've already fleshed these hides, and I'll demonstrate that for you today. And then today we're going to remove the hair. The fleshing process is done by taking your hide and from the inside pushing off the meat and flesh, of course. That's what fleshing means. And we're going to go back over this hide on the flesh side today. Now what we have here is a deer hide that we have already fleshed. We have put it in water with some ashes from our wood stove, hardwood ashes. And what we're doing now is we're just going back over this, getting any last little bits of anything that's left on this side. We've got a few cut marks. When you do your skinning, try not to cut your hide. I didn't actually take these off, so some of it's on there from other folks. And sometimes you have little pieces that get stuck like that. That's what we want to get rid of. We're just going to work this all the way around. And this is doing a couple of things. It's getting rid of some of the water in this hide. It's getting rid of some of this leftover debris. We've done as good a job as we could, but some of it sticks on there pretty good. And all I'm using for this is a piece of knife steel. This happens to be just a piece of steel that I make knives with. It's 1095 high carbon steel. And the reason I chose it is it's got a 90-degree edge. It's not pointy at all, it's flat. But it does have a 90-degree edge. Some of the metal that you'll buy at the big box stores will have some rounded corners. That's not as good as a 90-degree edge. And another piece of that got stuck on us. All you do is once you get started, you just work your way around. And you want to take it easy wherever you've got holes. They'll rip more. Your hide is soft now. So you want to take it easy with your hole. But you want to get all of this extra stuff off here like that. Alright, I'm going to take a few minutes to finish this up, and we'll turn it over and do the hair side. Alright, that looks like we've been all the way around now with our flesh side. And we've gotten rid of as much of the flesh as we can, of course, and then we've actually gotten down and taken some of the, there's a membrane there that you can get rid of too. So we did all of that as much as you can. We may go back, we'll rinse this and go back once we get the hair off. Alright, we're going to do the hair side now. And we've let this hide soak for about a week now. So the hair just falls out. And we let it soak with our water and ashes. So now all we're going to do is make us a path down this. And there's a membrane on this side too. We want to get all of that that holds the hair. Be impatient with this. You don't want to cut your hide. You worked hard to get it to this point. If you're too aggressive, you can cut it. Even with something like what I've got, which is not sharp at all, it's still cut. Go all the way to the edge. Go back across and make sure I get down to my membrane there, down to the grain. So we just keep beating repeat on that deal. You want your pole to be clean, you don't want anything under it, like hair or guts or whatever. Keep your pole clean. To the edge. Back to you're getting all of that membrane. Alright, we're going to bring it back when we get done. Here's our hide. Got some hair on me still. There's our hide. Fleshed and got the hair off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse it off real good in our bucket a little bit. And take a good look at it so we can see any hairs or any bit of the flesh side needs going over again. We're going to go over it real good. I'm just going to rinse it off good so I can look at it. And then we're going to let this thing dry out. Once we get happy with what it's doing, what it looks like, I'm going to let it dry out for a day or so. And get my other hides ready. I've got 3 more hides to do, and so we'll get my other hides up to this point. And you can let it dry out at this point and be rawhide, and it'll dry out hard, and it'll preserve itself at that point. But what we're going to do is brain tan these. So if you want rawhide, this is where you would stop. You just let it dry out, and then You could moisten it later and cut it into strips or whatever you wanted to do with it. Make drum heads out of it. We're going to go ahead and take this one on the brain tan. So we've got 3 more hides to do. We'll bring you back when we got all those done. Here's my hide hung up. I hung it on a piece of PVC. I made the mistake one time just throwing it over my barn door. My barn's white. And I came back in a day or so and it's dried, and dried so hard it took the paint right off the door, and the paint was on their hide. Now you can wet it down and get that off, but that was I decided not to do that anymore, so I used a piece of PVC pipe on a sawhorse, and just gonna keep it in my barn away from my dogs and the other animals to get to it, and let it dry out a little while, and we'll bring you back when we brain our hides.